The operating system of Western culture is largely based on ancient Greek, Roman, and ancient Jewish traditions. Now, that latter part, the Jewish traditions, you'll see a lot of that when it comes to the spirituality of Western culture. So when you look at Christianity especially, you'll see that the root of it really is based off of ancient Jewish traditions. Don't believe me? Just simply look at your Bible. The Bible, even though it reflects all three of those ancient cultures that I mentioned, you will see that the Bible itself is based on the Torah. You take away the Torah, that really takes away pretty much the entire message of the Bible itself. And the Torah is something that is based on ancient Jewish traditions. Now, in today's video, we're going to look at a really interesting relationship between Black Hebrew Israelites and the IDF. Yeah, there's something that they do that it's very close related. I'm just going to show it to you.
I'm about to show y'all a little bit of my life when we were celebrating Sukkot in the Feast of Tabernacles, so I'm very excited for y'all to see, so let's get into it, girl. This is the Feast of Tabernacles, or Sukkot, as in Leviticus 23 and 42. If you want to go see what the Lord told us to do to dwell in booths, to remember our people who escaped from Egypt, who was in the desert. Y'all, they was in the desert.
איזה יופי, באמצע לבנון, מה? סוכה בלבנון, תגידו מה, השתגעתם? השתגעתם לגמרי? אוי ושמחת בחגיך.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it. As we approach the Jewish holiday of Sukkot, let's talk about our enemy up north, Hezbollah. Since the start of the war, Hezbollah has fired over 13,000 rockets toward Israel.
Yeah, both of these groups, and I'm just using the IDF as just a subset, but the greater view, of course, when you're talking about Jews, is the Jewish community, the religious Jewish community at large. They largely celebrate this holiday or this festival called Sukkot.
For 1 week every year, Jews leave their homes and move into huts. Why? It's called Sukkot. The Torah tells Jews to live in these temporary huts to remember the Israelites wandering throughout the desert after leaving Egypt. Some say these huts represent the simple shelters they built in the wilderness. Others say they symbolize the clouds of glory, God's protection surrounding them. But the Sukkah isn't just about its history. You're supposed to see the stars through the roof. It reminds you how uncertain life can feel and how joy can exist even in the uncertainty. Maybe that's why Sukkot is called Zman Simchatenu, the time of our joy.
And so, just like they acknowledge it is very important to them, Hebrew Israelites also acknowledge this holiday and celebrate it.
Hey guys, it's time for another Moedim. You know what that means. In case you forgot or have not watched my other videos, Moedim means appointed time in Hebrew. And what I mean by that is that we are still in the midst of fall feasts. So first we had Feast of Trumpets, or Rosh Hashanah, or Yom Teruah. Then we had Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement. Now we are in Sukkot, also known as the Feast of Tabernacles or the Feast of Booths. That is where we are right now, or what we're about to go into. A lot of us are preparing for it.
So as much as Hebrew Israelites would like to separate themselves and say that they have nothing to do with these people, they're fake and all of that, the reality is just take a look at their practice. Imagine two opposing sides supporting and celebrating the same holidays while one side is calling the other fake. It's kind of interesting. But what I also want to do in this video is actually take a much deeper dive behind this holiday of Sukkot, because both of these sides that I just mentioned to you, Jewish people and Hebrew Israelites, they both believe that this central God figure, Yah or Yahweh, instructed them and gave them the details on how to celebrate this holiday. But what we're going to do in this video very quickly is we're going to actually go back a little bit further, and what you're going to find is that this holiday in of itself, it didn't start with the Jews. It didn't start with Hebrew Israelites. It actually got influences from a very familiar source. Let's take a look. Now, the sources are actually, it's not just one, it's actually a few of them, but we're going to start off by just going to the oldest known source. So let's take a trip to Syria. So between the 13th and 12th centuries, there was a city in Syria by the name of Emar, and they had a festival known as the Sukkot festival. Now, this was a 7-day festival at the full moon of what they called the first month. It was basically a harvest festival. It was a 7-day festival, like I just said, and the highlight days were the 1st and the 7th day. This is a festival where they would go outside of the city to renew their covenant to their god Dagon. Now, that's the oldest influence that we can find, but let's hit the fast forward button just a little bit, and we're going to come to this other group that I know that many of you are very familiar with, the Canaanites. Yeah, that same group that the Bible God commanded the Israelites to destroy, to wipe off the face of the earth. Yeah, they actually were influenced by the Canaanites. Well, let's find out how the Canaanites are tied into Sukkot. Well, if you take a snapshot between the 13th and the 10th century BCE, they too, around that same time period, they had a harvest festival where they actually built foliage shelters, and they too would sacrifice to their fertility gods. And these structures were described as booths. Now we hit the fast forward button just a little bit. Now we're going to come to nomadic Semitic tribes. Now this was during the Bronze and the Iron Age. Now they would build what was described as bush shelters. And finally we get to the 6th and the 5th century BCE. Well, that is where, according to the Bible, this is where the Israelites actually took those influences and created what we know today as Sukkot. So when we look today at Jewish people or Hebrew Israelites, at the end of the day, they are both operating on the same operating system. So at the end of the day, despite their differences, both Jewish people and Hebrew Israelites are celebrating the same holidays. One big family. And as always, I encourage all viewers to take a few minutes and look it up. Look up everything that I'm presenting to you into this video, and you'll find that it is 100% true. And as I always say, it's okay to have your own personal beliefs, but beliefs do not replace the facts. Be sure to check out our other channel, Long Form History, where we dive into these topics at a much deeper level than what I do here on this platform. Also, if you haven't signed up already for our class, Breaking the Chains, make sure you sign up for that. It gives you an opportunity to ask questions where we dive into these types of topics. It's going to be a 5-hour seminar, and it's going to be quite intensive. And if you miss the live version, we'll make sure to have the recorded version set aside for you. And like with all participants, you will get access to a free book that's going to contain all the notes and references that we can provide for you. So I'll be interested to hear your comments below. You guys take care and enjoy the rest of your day.